My parents forced me to give up my dream job so my brother could find himself. I had always been the good daughter, the one who did what was expected, followed the rules, stayed out of trouble. When I graduated from university with a degree in marketing, I didn't expect anything less than a steady job, a simple life. That's what my parents always told me was enough. But then I got an email that changed everything. It was from a company I had dreamed of working for since I was a teenager. They offered me a position, a real one. Not an internship, not a part-time gig, a full-time, well-paying role in their headquarters abroad. The kind of job that launched careers. It felt like a dream. I read the email 3 times to make sure it was real. The offer was everything I had worked for, everything I'd wanted, a chance to finally make my mark, to show everyone that I was more than just the dependable, predictable daughter who followed the rules. I was excited. So, naturally, I told my parents. I thought they'd be as excited as I was. They weren't. My mom smiled when I told her, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's great, honey," she said, trying to sound happy. "But are you sure you're ready for that kind of responsibility?" I nodded, my heart racing with anticipation. "I've been preparing for this my whole life. It's what I've always wanted." My dad, who had been quiet up until then, put down his newspaper and looked at me. "I'm proud of you, but—" He trailed off, then added, "Have you thought about your brother?" My stomach dropped. "What about him?" "You know he's been struggling lately," my mom interjected. "He dropped out of college again. He's not sure what he's doing with his life. He needs some direction." I felt my excitement fade. "I've worked for this. For years, I've earned this opportunity." My dad didn't budge. "It's not just about you, sweetheart. Family comes first. Your brother needs someone to help him figure things out. He's been lost for a while, and you can't just leave him hanging." I blinked. "But I've been working for this job for months. It's a dream come true." "We know, but he's our son, too. We need your help here," my mom said, her voice softer but firm. "You could always help him find a path, get him on his feet. He needs you more than a job does right now." They didn't get it. I'd worked so hard for this. It wasn't about abandoning my brother, but about finally taking a step for myself, something I had never done before. I opened my mouth to protest, but my dad cut me off. "Think about it carefully, sweetheart. It's not just a job. It's a life decision. You have a choice to make." It wasn't a question. It was a command. I looked down at my phone where the email offer from the company was still open. This was my future. But in that moment, I realized I was being asked to sacrifice it for someone else. I went to my room after dinner, staring at the screen, torn. I had spent my entire life listening to my parents, doing everything they asked, but this was the one thing that was mine. Mine, not theirs. And they wanted me to give it up for my brother, the one who could barely get his act together, the one who had dropped out of college twice. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't want to disappoint them, but I also didn't want to be stuck in the same cycle of taking care of everyone else while my dreams slipped further away. I closed the laptop. For the first time, I realized I had to make a choice for myself, but I didn't know how to do that without breaking my family's expectations. What do you think? Would you have made the same decision or tried to balance both? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow for the next episode. This decision is only the beginning. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the email, the offer. It kept flashing back, the words glowing on the screen like a neon sign I was too scared to walk towards. I felt torn in a way I'd never experienced before. This wasn't just about my career anymore. It was about my family, the people I'd spent my whole life trying to make proud. The next morning, I tried to act like everything was normal, but my mom could see through the facade immediately. She asked if I had made up my mind, and before I could even respond, she added, "You know, your brother really needs you right now. He's confused and doesn't know where to go. He's been in and out of jobs for months." It was like a script she'd rehearsed in her mind, a list of reasons to make me feel guilty. She leaned in, as if to make it sound more convincing. "I don't know how much longer we can keep supporting him." I nodded, but my heart wasn't in it. It felt like she was laying the weight of the world on me. "I get it," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But what about me, Mom? I've been working towards this. I've been waiting for this opportunity my whole life." She sighed and placed her hand on mine, her voice softening. "I know you've worked hard, honey. We're proud of you, but this isn't just about work. It's about family." I felt the sting of her words like 1,000 little needles poking into my chest. Family. That word, thrown around like it was the one thing that should make me set aside everything I wanted. My father walked in, joining the conversation with a look that was part concern, part expectation. "Your mom's right," he said, sitting down across from me. "We've always helped each other. Your brother is struggling, and we can't let him do this on his own. Not again." I was quiet. My heart was beating harder now. I could feel the guilt creeping in. They were right about one thing. My brother was in trouble. But did that mean I had to give up the one chance I had to change my life? It was like a trap. The more I thought about it, the more the words blurred together, and the weight of their disappointment started to crush me. I had always been the one they could count on. But was that supposed to mean I had to put my dreams aside every time they asked me? That afternoon, I found myself on the phone with my brother. He didn't know what was happening, what my parents were asking of me. He never had to choose between following his dreams and helping someone. He just coasted. I had always been the one who fixed things. "So, how's work going?" I asked, trying to keep the conversation light. He didn't answer right away, and I could hear the familiar frustration in his voice. "Same old, I don't know. It's just hard. I'm trying to figure things out. But I feel like I'm stuck, you know?" I could hear the self-pity creeping in, the excuse he always used. The same one he used to explain why he wasn't succeeding. It wasn't his fault. It was always someone else's. "Maybe you could try looking into something different," I suggested, pushing my frustration aside. "Have you thought about working in sales or marketing? You could make a good living with a little direction." But he wasn't interested in that. The conversation quickly shifted to me. "I heard about that job offer," he said, his tone light. "But there was an edge to it. Are you really going to leave? What about mom and dad? They need you." I felt my stomach tighten. "They'll be fine, Chris. They're asking me to stay, to give up this chance. I don't know what to do anymore." "Come on, you can always get a job anywhere. Why not stay with them? They'll need you. I can't do it alone." It hit me then. He wasn't asking for my help because he truly needed it. He was just comfortable in his mess, expecting me to clean it up. I could feel the weight of his words pressing down on me. But I knew I couldn't give in. I wasn't going to be stuck in the same cycle of sacrificing my future for someone who couldn't help themselves. When I hung up, I made the decision. I wasn't going to put my life on hold. I wasn't going to make my brother's mess my responsibility anymore. I wasn't going to let guilt manipulate me into staying, but I had to break it to my parents. I knew it would crush them, but I also knew I had to follow through. I wasn't going to stay behind for them. I wasn't going to waste my future trying to fix a problem that wasn't mine to solve. The day I decided to finally tell my parents wasn't easy. I had spent days running over every possible scenario in my head, every conversation I could have, every angry word that might slip out. But when the time came, I knew I had to stay firm. I couldn't let their guilt trip tactics win anymore. I waited until dinner. My mom was in the kitchen, my dad reading the newspaper, and my brother was probably in his room, wasting time again. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. This wasn't going to be easy. I sat at the table, and before my mom could ask how my job search was going, I had kept the offer from them for weeks. I spoke up. "I've made my decision," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, though my heart was racing. My parents looked at each other, then at me. They probably thought I was going to cave, like I always did. "What do you mean?" my mom asked, her voice tentative. "I'm not going to stay here," I said. "I'm taking the job offer. It's what I've worked for, and I can't let it go just because Chris can't figure his life out." The silence was deafening. My dad's face tightened. "You're not seriously thinking about leaving us for that, are you? You know how much your brother needs you." "I know," I said, meeting his gaze. "But I've been helping him my whole life. It's not my job to fix everything for him. I can't keep sacrificing my future just to make everyone else comfortable." I could see the frustration building in their eyes. My mom opened her mouth, but I held up my hand. "I've made up my mind. I'm moving forward. I'm not asking for your permission anymore. This is my choice." The room was thick with tension. I could feel their disappointment like a weight pressing down on me, but I couldn't back down. This was my future at stake, not theirs. "You don't understand," my dad said, standing up. "You're abandoning us when we need you the most. Your brother isn't ready for life on his own. He's struggling, and you're going to leave him to fail." "I'm not abandoning anyone," I said, my voice steady. "I'm just not going to be your backup plan anymore." There was a long pause. My mom wiped away a tear. I could tell she didn't like it, but in her heart I knew she understood. She had to. "Maybe you're right," she said softly, "but don't expect us to be happy about it. Family should always come first." I stood up, looking them both in the eyes. "I've always put family first, but I can't keep doing it if it means putting my life on hold. I'm sorry. This is what I need." I walked out before they could say anything else. I didn't want to hear it. I had made my decision and there was no turning back now. The next few days felt strange. The silence from my parents was suffocating. They didn't call, didn't ask me to reconsider. It was like they were processing what I'd said. Meanwhile, my brother texted me a few times asking if I was really going. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I knew he didn't understand either, but it wasn't my responsibility to explain myself anymore. I packed my bags and left the house for good. I moved into a small apartment closer to the job, and though I missed home at times, I knew I had made the right choice. A week after I started my new job, I got a message from my mom. It was short, just a text. "I'm proud of you. You did the right thing." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I already knew. What do you think of the decision? Do you think she was wrong to put herself first, or was it the only choice? Let me know in the comments below, and follow for more stories coming your way. Now we are moving to the next story. I found out my best friend was hiding her pregnancy and told me she wanted me to raise her baby. For as long as I could remember, Rachel and I had been inseparable. We'd been through everything together: high school drama, college heartbreaks, and long nights spent talking about our dreams. I never thought anything could come between us. But something shifted in the last few months, and I didn't know what. At first, I thought it was just a phase. She'd been distant, canceling plans, sending short texts, and not showing up to the usual hangouts. I didn't think much of it. People go through stuff, right? Maybe she was stressed, or maybe she was just going through one of those I need time alone phases. But then I started noticing more. Her clothes, once perfectly chosen, started to look a little too big, and when she came over last week, she didn't touch her wine. The moment I started piecing it all together was when I caught her avoiding the topic of her health. I asked if she was feeling okay, and she brushed me off. Oh, just a little tired. Work and all that. But something in her tone made me uneasy. I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't telling me the full story. I decided to ask her directly. One evening, I showed up at her apartment unannounced. Her door was slightly ajar, and when I walked in, she was sitting on the couch, looking exhausted. I took a deep breath, not knowing how she'd react, but I had to know. Rachel, are you pregnant? Her eyes widened. She froze for a second before quickly recovering with a nervous laugh. What? Where did that come from? I didn't buy it. Not for a second. I'm not stupid, Rachel. I've been noticing how weird you've been acting lately. You're wearing baggy clothes, avoiding certain things, and you haven't been yourself. Please just tell me. I could see the panic in her eyes. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. The silence between us stretched on. Finally, she whispered, I am. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't breathe for a second. You're pregnant? I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. She nodded, still not meeting my gaze. I didn't want to tell you yet. I didn't want to tell anyone. I sat down beside her, my heart racing. Why didn't you tell me, Rachel? You're my best friend. I should have known. I didn't want to make it real, she said softly. I don't want to keep it. I stared at her in shock. What do you mean you don't want to keep it? What are you planning to do? She ran a hand through her hair, visibly struggling with her emotions. I don't know. I can't do this. I'm not ready for a baby. I don't know if I ever will be. I sat there trying to process what she was saying. This wasn't like her. She was always the one who was strong, the one who had a plan for everything. And now, here she was, barely able to hold it together. But, Rachel, I said, trying to find the words, you can't just pretend this isn't happening. You can't just ignore it. I know, she said, her voice shaking, but I don't want to raise a baby. I'm not ready for this, and I don't think I can handle it. I need to figure this out, but I don't know how. I stared at her, my mind spinning. I wanted to help her. I wanted to be there for her, but I also knew this wasn't just about her anymore. There was a baby involved, and it was starting to feel like she was burying her head in the sand, hoping everything would go away. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't process it all in one sitting, and I didn't want to push her too hard, but I couldn't help feeling like this was only the beginning of something bigger. The next few days were a blur. I tried to act like everything was fine, but the weight of Rachel's secret kept sitting on my chest. I couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. She didn't want the baby, and even worse, she had no plan, no idea of what to do. It wasn't until a week later that Rachel called me again. I thought she wanted to talk more about what happened, but this time, it was different. Her voice on the other end was shaky, as if she was on the verge of breaking down. Can we meet? She asked. I need to tell you something I should have said sooner. I agreed without hesitation, knowing something was coming. The urgency in her voice told me it wasn't just another casual chat. When I arrived at her apartment, she was already waiting for me. She looked worse than before, pale, tired, and her eyes were red. She had clearly been crying. Sit down, she said, motioning toward the couch. Her hands were shaking as she handed me a small envelope. I opened it, and inside was a document, a form for an adoption agency. What is this? I asked, my heart sinking. She took a deep breath, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm not keeping the baby. I don't want it. I'm giving it up for adoption. I didn't know what to say. I felt a rush of emotions. Anger, sadness, disbelief. But there was something else underneath it all. Confusion. Why hadn't she told me this earlier? Why hadn't she trusted me with this decision? Rachel wiped her eyes, her voice breaking. I can't do this. I don't want to be a mom. I'm scared and I don't know how to raise a child. I just can't. I felt a pang of sympathy, but at the same time, I couldn't ignore the reality of the situation. There was a baby inside her, a baby that didn't have a choice in all this. You don't have to go through this alone, I said, my voice softening. I'm here for you, Rachel. We can figure this out together. She shook her head. I can't. I've already decided. I've talked to the agency. They'll help me with everything. But Rachel, I protested. Don't you see? This is a huge decision. You're deciding someone else's life for them, and you're asking me to just watch it happen. I don't know what else to do, she yelled, her voice rising in frustration. I'm not ready to be a mom. I'm not ready for any of this. I don't want to keep it, and I don't know how to make you understand that. Her words hit me harder than I thought they would. I didn't want to judge her. I wanted to support her, but the more she spoke, the more I realized just how selfish she was being. Rachel was making a decision that would affect more than just her. It would affect me too, and she was asking me to just accept it. I'm sorry, but I can't just sit back and watch this happen, I said, standing up. This isn't just about you anymore. You can't make this decision alone. Rachel looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. What do you mean? I mean that I'm not just going to let you give up your baby. You're my best friend, and I can't just stand by while you make a choice like this. Her face contorted with anger. What are you saying? You want me to keep it? Do you think this is easy for me? No, I don't think it's easy. But you're asking me to be okay with you just giving up a life. I can't be okay with that. There was a long pause between us, the tension thick in the air. I could see the panic in Rachel's eyes as she struggled to keep herself together. Please don't make this harder for me, she begged. I've already made my decision. I didn't know what else to say. I was caught between wanting to support my friend and knowing that what she was doing was wrong. I couldn't help her if she didn't want help, but I also couldn't just let her walk away from her responsibilities. I'm not going to judge you, Rachel, I said quietly, but I can't support you in this. Not like this. After our conversation, I didn't hear from Rachel for a few days. I wasn't sure if I had made things worse by being so blunt, but I couldn't apologize for what I said. She needed to understand that this wasn't just her decision to make. The baby was a living, breathing person, and it wasn't just about her comfort. It was about what was right. Then, out of nowhere, Rachel texted me, "We need to talk." I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure I was ready to dive back into it, but eventually I realized there was no avoiding it. I couldn't leave things hanging. I had to show her that I wasn't going to sit quietly while she made a choice that affected us both. So I agreed to meet. We sat in a cafe a few days later. Rachel had her head down, her hands wrapped around her coffee cup like it was the only thing keeping her together. I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began, her voice soft, almost defeated. "I get it. You're right. I can't just give the baby away without really thinking about it." I waited for more, but she didn't speak. But I still can't keep it either. She finally looked up, her eyes full of tears. "I don't want to keep running away from this, but I don't know what else to do. I'm scared. I don't want to be a mom, and I definitely don't want to be the kind of person who regrets her decision later." It was obvious that Rachel was in deep turmoil. I could see the fear in her face, the indecision that had been eating away at her, and for a moment I felt sorry for her. But then I reminded myself, this wasn't just about her. It wasn't just about what she was comfortable with. "I'm not saying it's easy, Rachel," I said, my voice steady, "but you have to take responsibility. It's not just about you anymore. It's about the future, the baby. You can't just make this decision based on what's easiest for you." Her hands shook as she placed the cup down on the table. "I know, but it feels like everyone expects me to just have it, and I don't know if I'm ready for that." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Rachel, I get it. You're not ready. You don't feel prepared. But giving it up without thinking through everything is not the answer either. You can't just let fear make the decision for you." I didn't know what else to say. She already knew how I felt. But then something unexpected happened. Rachel looked at me, a sudden look of clarity crossing her face. "I've been thinking about it," she said quietly. What if you raise the baby? I don't want to do this alone, but I can't do it either. You're the only person I trust enough to ask this." The words hit me like a bomb. I sat there, shocked, trying to process what she had just said. "What?" I managed to say, my voice shaky. "You're asking me to raise your baby?" "Rachel, this is insane." "I know it's crazy," she whispered, "but I just don't feel like I can be the mother I need to be right now. You're stable. You've always been the one who held everything together. You'd be amazing at this. Please, I'm asking you as my best friend." I couldn't believe it. She was asking me to take on the responsibility of raising a child that wasn't mine. She wanted to just pass it off because she couldn't deal with it. I was silent for a long time. This was the moment, the one where I could either go along with it or stand my ground. "I can't do that, Rachel. I can't take on a baby for you. I have my own life to live. I'm not your backup plan, and I'm not taking responsibility for your decision." I saw the hurt in her eyes, and for a second, I wondered if I was making the right choice. But deep down, I knew I couldn't sacrifice my future for something I didn't agree with. She needed to take responsibility, not just for her own sake, but for the baby's too. Rachel didn't fight me. She just nodded, her face crumpling with the weight of everything she had been carrying. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I don't know what I'm doing anymore." I reached out and touched her arm gently. "It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be unsure, but you can't just give up. You need to take charge of your life." The conversation didn't end perfectly. It didn't end in a neat resolution. But at least, for the first time, Rachel understood that her choices couldn't be made in isolation. And for me, it was a step toward finally standing up for myself. What do you think? Would you have been able to say no to your best friend's request? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow for the next story. Things are about to get even more intense.